Today I'm reacting to your Monday Night Raw Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether those are good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you follow me on X because I ask for your hot take after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every WWE Premium Live event. By the way, I have seen, and most importantly, I have heard your very loud and very fair criticisms over the X accounts that I keep featuring every single week on these episodes of Hot Takes. As it turns out, my giant stupid ass kept featuring the same accounts every single week, it seems. And I promise you, it wasn't intentional. It was just opinions that I thought were really stupid or really interesting and I wanted to comment on. But it is true that I kept featuring the same accounts over and over again. And I think it's just because they would always appear at the top of my feed because they were Twitter verified. But there isn't a greater conspiracy theory. These accounts don't pay me to be featured and I don't own these accounts. I promise you, I do not know and or fucking care who these people are. It's been complete happenstance. But I promise you I'm gonna make a far more conscious effort to make sure that we hear voices from all over the internet wrestling community, not just the same accounts over and over again. Deal? And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I am confident that you're gonna fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. By the way, this is my last day here at the Cartel Comp at my parents' house, so you won't be seeing this background for much longer. I did pre-tape a couple of videos as I travel, but I'm going to be back in my office pretty soon. One last thing, if you do want more than daily videos, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap, link in the description, link in the pinned comment. Let's read your stupid shit. God damn, that was a long intro. It's finally over. What a horrible championship reign. Thank the Lord. This was the longest, most agonizingly painful championship reign that I've maybe witnessed ever since I started watching WWE. Damn near 200 days of holding this championship hostage and doing nothing to elevate themselves as a tag team, doing nothing to elevate the tag team division, and absolutely doing nothing to elevate the importance of the tag team titles themselves. This is such a good thing. I'm glad that this championship reign is over. I'm glad that the titles are on the War Raiders. I'm glad that the tag titles are on a proper tag team that can start from zero and develop a championship reign that can actually be memorable and remembered. And I'm glad that it's on a team that could potentially help elevate the tag team division. I'm hoping that this is a sign for greater things to come for the tag team division on Monday Night Raw, kind of like what we've seen over on the SmackDown tag team division, where things have been getting much more tender love and care over there. I hope that that's the case over here, especially with Raw likely going to 3 hours on Netflix. We're now going to have more time to feature the tag team division. And I hope sincerely that the War Raiders end up being fighting champions and good champions. Rhea calling Dom a quote chicken tender slut was so uncalled for. He is a quote chicken tender connoisseur and his taste palette is very unique. Yeah, I'm sorry that Dominic Mysterio gives chicken tendies and nuggets from all over the world an opportunity to enter his beautiful forbidden mouth. Does that make him a chicken tender slut? I don't think so. I think at worst that makes him a chicken tender player. All jokes aside, I thought that segment was hilarious. I thought that it was so funny that Liv Morgan was on the microphone and then she grabbed the megaphone that thought was going to make her louder, but she was actually louder on the mic that she put aside for the megaphone. Plus all of the boos that Dominic Mysterio was receiving, the fact that we might now actually be seeing light at the end of the tunnel of the never-ending feud that is Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan. All in all, the segment I was happy with, and the potential outcome of this segment, I can't wait for it to finally come. But chicken tender slut, really, USA Network? You're not going to censor that? You're going to censor the simple word that is asshole, but slut is fine? What is this? Tag team wrestling on Raw is back, finally. So I want to agree with you, but I also want to be really cautiously optimistic because over the last several months, dare I say the last year, we've had more evidence that tag team wrestling is not back versus tag team wrestling is back. I do sincerely believe that the War Raiders can be tag team champions that can honestly just start from scratch and rebuild this non-existing tag team division. But let's be honest, the tag team division needs to go through a lot of rehab, through a lot of tender love and care to become something relevant, something important, because right now it is at absolute ground zero. But I do think that the War Raiders can be a good flag bearer and a torch carrier for this tag team division as it hopefully is on the rise. But is it back? I don't think so. I think now it has the potential to be back. Raw's first episode on Netflix should count as night 0 of WrestleMania. God damn, dude, like it already has matches that on their own accord could already be on the WrestleMania card, like Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa for the Ufalafa, and of course the legendary feud that is CM Punk versus Seth Rollins having their first match. Both of these things, if you told me they were to happen at WrestleMania, I'd believe you. And then there's still more things to be added. We're likely going to add Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan on there as well. Who knows what returns are going to happen on this show? They are going all out for Raw on Netflix that it's not crazy to call it WrestleMania Night 0. I think that we're getting closer to Drew and Seth teaming up. Everything Drew was saying was the truth, and Seth just needed to realize that. You know what's funny? Seth saying that just because we have a common enemy or a common goal that we can't be friends. Meanwhile, having a common goal and a common enemy is what led to Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes putting their hatred aside and becoming kind of friends. So Seth Rollins, I know that you're capable of being turned into the dark side. And if anyone is going to turn Seth Rollins to the dark side, it's definitely bounty hunter, bloodline bounty hunter Drew McIntyre, who is out for blood. I hope that Drew McIntyre is out here trying to like create the evil Avengers or something and recruit Seth Rollins and maybe Kevin Owens as well. But I see where you're coming from. I do think that eventually we're going to get a team up between these two, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a match against CM Punk and Roman Reigns. That would be an absolutely nutty tag team match. No storyline takes from me. I just want to say, as someone that has had zero experience with him prior to him joining WWE, Joe Tessitore has really grown on me as a commentator. I enjoy his voice and his style, and I enjoy listening to him. Also, him and Wade work well as a pair, in my opinion. I still prefer the team of Michael Cole and Corey Graves, and I definitely prefer Michael Cole and Pat McAfee more, but I will say Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett have added a very unique and not very easily replicable voice for Monday Night Raw. Now, we've heard that Monday Night Raw is going to have a change in terms of commentary team, that it's likely going to be Michael Cole and Pat McAfee returning to commentary duties, so I'm curious how these two are going to sound over on Friday Night SmackDown. But yeah, I'm glad that the shows don't sound the same. It adds a unique flavor to Raw and SmackDown, not just in terms of superstars and in terms of action, but in terms of presentation as well, and I think that that's a good thing. Zoe Starks winning the triple threat match tonight was a well-needed surprise. Having her win adds unpredictability to the rest of the tournament. Not in a million years was I expecting Zoe Stark to win this. After having Shayna Baszler lose, after seeing PFC just pretty much be booked into oblivion and into obscurity, I did not think that Zoe Stark was going to win this match, a match that had Raquel Rodriguez, somebody that has been booked incredibly strong and somebody that's in prominent storylines. I was certain that Raquel Rodriguez was going to win this match. But I gotta admit, it was a really pleasant surprise. And it was a pleasant surprise because this match actually served as a reminder of how good the non-featured women of Monday Night Raw are. Like Kaden Carter looked like $1,000,000. Zoe Stark reminded the world that she is probably the best wrestler in PFC and incredibly underrated. So I'm kind of glad that she won because you're right, it does kind of add some unpredictability to this tournament where honestly anyone could win. It's very different from the US title picture where we all thought and believed that Chelsea Green and Michin should be in the final in some way, shape, or form, and that was the exact final that we got. I can't tell you what the final is going to be from the Raw side of things for the Intercontinental Championship. It's incredibly unpredictable, and that's a good thing. Karrion Kross and the Final Testament is finally growing on people. I'm glad because the character and storytelling that they're making is amazing. Just had to be patient. I'm still not fully on board with Karrion Kross, mostly because I haven't really seen a Karrion Kross storyline that is purely dependent on Karrion Kross and his involvement be good. Yes, the New Day stuff is good, but it got good once Karrion Kross left. And I don't think that we've gotten to the point where I can call the Final Testament versus the Wyatt Six a good, interesting feud. I'm intrigued and I want to see more, but I don't think that he's grown on everybody. I feel like a lot of people still are unsure about the Final Testament and Karrion Kross, me included. I'm glad the Punk versus Seth match isn't getting dragged out until WrestleMania, but this has me wondering for what they might do after Netflix's debut. If somehow Punk wins the Rumble and goes for Gunther, what's Seth getting into? Who knows? And frankly, at this point, who cares? And that's a good thing. It's a good thing that we can't really predict where things are going to go, because the Raw main event scene and the SmackDown main event scene is about to go into a collision course where we don't even know where people are going to land. So to try and speculate where things are going to go for people like Punk and Seth Rollins, the Royal Rumble winners, right now it's almost futile, because things could just change on a whim with this trade portal. But it is fascinating that there are titles out there that could be gunned after by CM Punk, Seth Rollins, where right now there's no direct link to them right now. Like, for example, there's no connection between Gunther and either CM Punk and Seth Rollins, but in the split second, there absolutely can be, and everybody would be seated for it.
Fellas, I love going to wrestling shows, and if you've ever been in a packed arena full of other wrestling fans, you'll know that a lot of them, how do I put this kindly, don't smell very good. And I've always been really careful to take care of my personal hygiene when I go to wrestling shows to make sure that I don't join the statistic of stinky wrestling fans. And now it's much easier to do so thanks to today's sponsor, Mando. Mando works so well because it doesn't cover up odor after the fact with heavy fragrances like certain other deodorants do. Instead, it stops the odor at the source by blocking the bacteria on your skin from eating your sweat, which is the actual cause of BO. What does this mean? It means that Mando is clinically proven to control odor for up to 72 hours. Mando deodorant was my go-to deodorant for a SummerSlam weekend, a weekend that I spent walking all over Cleveland, meeting viewers and jumping and screaming for hours in a packed stadium with over 50,000 people. And I may have walked out of SummerSlam incredibly tired. I may have walked out sick with the flu, but damn it, I smelled amazing from beginning to end and beyond. Mando's starter pack is perfect for a new customer. It comes with a solid stick of deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash or the deodorant wipes. You also get free shipping. Luckily, I have a discount code to help you get hooked on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers will get $5 off the starter pack with my exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off of your starter pack. Just make sure that you use code SANTI at shopmando.com. Again, that is code SANTI at shopmando.com. Thank you very much to Mando for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back into it.
I feel like Rhea versus Liv 3 will absolutely need a stipulation if they want people to be interested again. The storyline got stale after Bash in Berlin, and I think that a Hell in a Cell or Falls Count Anywhere match might help give the conclusion to this feud a little bit more hype. I would agree, but they've already had a stipulation, and the stipulation kind of fell flat, which was Dominic Mysterio in the shark cage. So I'm not necessarily convinced that this needs a stipulation. I just think that this needs to end. And I'm not somebody that's been easily tired or annoyed by this feud. I feel like I've been given this feud a little bit more of a leash than most people here on the internet. But even me, somebody that's been more patient with this feud than a lot of people, even I'm ready for this to reach its natural conclusion. Hell in a Cell, Falls Count Anywhere, sure, but I don't think that it's going to necessarily add any more hype when I feel like the hype behind this is seeing the end of this. Pure Fusion Collective advancing and taking out Kairi Sane made me so upset. I just want Kairi Sane to have her moment to shine as a singles competitor. Bro, me too, and it seems like there's just no interest on the WWE's part to showcase Kairi Sane as a singles competitor, which is such a shame, because if you've seen Kairi Sane as a singles competitor, you know that she can be absolutely amazing, but she's just not being given the opportunity, and she's been clearly written off of the Intercontinental Championship tournament, which is such a shame considering that tournament has been such a great place to showcase people that never get an opportunity, like Zoe Stark, like Kaden Carter, like Katana Chance. We've been wowed by them. This was a thing that I was actually really looking forward to see Kairi Sane actually be showcased, and now that she's likely been written off of this tournament, it's a huge shame. The entirety of Raw's mid-card needs something new, like a tournament. SmackDown is literally carried by their mid-card, meanwhile Raw can barely stand. I mean, I highly disagree. I feel like Raw has a really unique mid-card full of main eventers that could slide into mid-card spots anytime, any place. But in terms of just like pure mid-card people, we have the likes of Braun Breaker, Ludwig Kaiser, and Sheamus just absolutely cooking and giving us lights out matches. But then you also have quasi-main eventers that are in the main event scene right now that could slide into the mid-card, like we've seen over the last couple of months, like Jey Uso, like Sami Zayn has over the last couple of months. And I feel like that's a pretty unique thing to Monday Night Raw. On top of that, you don't really need to think that hard about this, because we're going to get a superstar shakeup anyway with the transfer portal. The Raw mid-card division, if you're not a fan fan of it is likely going to change within the next couple of weeks anyway. Kaiser is an amazing worker, and I'm very excited to see what he can do next year. Hopefully get some gold. So Ludwig Kaiser really absolutely impressed me in this match against Braun Breaker, not because of his in-ring work, but more so his in-ring psychology. This is the first time that we've seen Ludwig Kaiser not just give us a match, a good match, but he like worked the match from beginning to end as a true end-to-end dominant heel. That's not something that we've seen out of Ludwig Kaiser, and doing it to somebody that is as powerful and as dominant as Braun Breaker, I think really speaks volumes to WWE's overall thoughts on the stock of Ludwig Kaiser. It might not be the time for Ludwig Kaiser right now, but that match showed me that at some point it absolutely will. Tonight got me more excited for the Raw debut on Netflix. All I have to say is this show better be going back to 3 hours, because I don't know how else you're going to have all of these PLE-worthy matches and appearances while still having a fantastic debut in 2 hours. It's maybe possible that Raw on Netflix just doesn't have an appropriate time span. Maybe some episodes will be 2 hours, maybe some episodes will be 3, maybe some will be 2.5, maybe some will be 1 hour and 45 minutes, because there is no time constraint on Netflix. See, a lot of people are just jumping to the assumption that Raw on Netflix is just automatically going to be 3 hours. What if Raw on Netflix is just as long as it needs to be? Maybe that's how long Raw on Netflix is, which means that maybe the debut episode goes really long so that we can give all of these PLE worthy matches time to breathe so that the debut can really be impactful. But maybe not every episode is as long as the debut episode. It's possible that that's a thing. Again, I'm no Sean Ross Sapp. I don't have any sources. I'm just a dumbass on a plastic chair on the other side of the world right now. But I mean, to me, that makes sense. Raw needs to have bigger main events. Too many mid-carders get to main event. Nah, I think it's fine. I think it's fine that mid-carders main event from time to time. Like, I get it that the tag team championships main evented, but we had a championship change. And it's neat to see the tag team titles main event when they've been barely featured over the last several months. I think that Raw pretty much is always main evented by the typical main eventers of the men's or the women's division. I personally like seeing the change of pace of a mid-carder main eventing Raw from time to time. I thought it was cool. For example, when the Intercontinental Championship matches were main eventing Raw. I like that. I'm just disappointed that Triple H took like 6 months to start developing the feud between Alpha Academy and American Made. He took so long that the only thing I can say is I just don't give a shit anymore. I don't care. They missed the window for Otis to actually maybe become this big star alongside this feud with American Made and Chad Gable. I don't care anymore. They took too long and I'm just not there anymore. Will Penta debut on Raw Netflix or Royal Rumble? I'm gonna guess Raw Netflix. First of all, Penta in Los Angeles, that's a Penta crowd through and through. Penta even has a store in the Los Angeles area, so I absolutely see Penta debuting at Raw Netflix in Los Angeles. On top of that, if you use the same timing of when the Motor City Machine Guns had the little tease and the tease kept getting more and more revealing, it took about 4 weeks from the first tease to the final tease for Motor City Machine Guns to debut on Friday Night SmackDown. And it just so happens that it's 4 weeks between the first glimpse of that Penta tease and the Raw on Netflix. So I feel like if we're following the blueprint for what they did for the debut of Motor City Machine Guns, that I think it makes sense for Penta to debut at Raw Netflix. Katana and Kaden were both good in their triple threat match. I want to see them win the tag titles back, though a rivalry against each other in the future would cook though. I think that they have it in them to deliver. That's honestly been the beauty of this Intercontinental Women's Championship tournament. We've gotten to see some women that never get showcased, showcase what they got, and impress the hell out of us. I'll be honest with you. Katana and Kaden, I like them as a tag team, but based on what I've seen, I would love to see them have a singles run individually because they had awesome singles moveset. They are not an individual set of people that only are interesting when they come together as a tag team. I want to see them as single stars, whether it's feuding with each other or the rest of the women's roster. I want to see that. I feel like that's more interesting than this tag team that has honestly struggled to get over both on NXT and on the main roster. New tag team champions, but Damian getting involved means that Balor and him should just go at it in the Raw premiere of Netflix. I mean, I hope so that we can be done with this feud. I'm also done with this feud. This is a feud where they they kind of ruined it right off the get-go. You know how they should have fixed this? By just having Damian versus Finn happen at Bash in Berlin immediately after the red hot heel turn that happened at SummerSlam. Taking like 2 months between the SummerSlam turn and their first match, and then another 2 months between the next portion of their storyline was entirely way too long. So I'm personally done with this. If they want to be over and done with it on Raw Netflix, fine. I think that The Rock should prevent Roman Reigns from winning Tribal Combat, finally setting up their dream match at WrestleMania 41. You know what? I'm just kind of done predicting when The Rock is going to come back. We've been predicting The Rock to come back pretty much every other week, it seems, and we've been wrong. However, if there is a place for The Rock to come back for it to make sense, it is this one. It is the Raw debut on Netflix, and it is in this specific match. But will he? I don't know. I'm not going to predict it anymore. This sign was awesome. Dom looks like he thinks that Taco Bell is authentic. Okay. All right. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. We need more New Day content badly. Dude, me too. I wish we gotten more New Day, a little bit more of a substantial New Day segment, but I guess it was pretty neat to see them get out of the locker room because it does create the atmosphere that they're in, an atmosphere where everyone is against them, and yet they don't see themselves as the bad guy. They still see themselves as good old happy New Day, but they're being shunned by everybody, and I'm curious how that's going to impact the character development of this new version of the New Day. I do want to see more. Kairi could be in a horror movie with the way that she screamed. Shit was blood curdling. Dear Lord, yeah, dude. I actually like turned around thinking that somebody broke into my house and attacked my parents with how loud she screamed. Zoe Starks is PFC's only hope. She's by far the best in ring out of the three, but they all need character and mic work. I still find all three of the women very boring and don't see them going anywhere as a group. I agree, and I also think that Zoe Stark is probably better off on her own. This group is not getting over. It's not going to get over. I don't think that there's a single thing that they could do at this point that could get them over. I feel like the jury's already out on PFC. People don't want to see PFC. When their music hits, it is literally negative aura. They take the sound out of the arena somehow. But Zoe Stark is incredibly talented. She's still young as well. She could absolutely go. She has a lot more time to develop. So I do think if there's somebody that's going to break out of PFC, it is Zoe Stark. How's Rhea the #1 contender? Well, duh, she spoke to Adam Pearce, obviously. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this episode of Hot Takes. That's it. I'm done. Okay, get out of here.